Welcome back to the B2B Pipeline Pioneer Show with your favorite guest host, Ariana Shannon, Brand Marketing Director here at SalesIntel, where we believe that building pipeline is a team sport. And it truly is, whether you have partnerships, community, marketing, sales, product, leadership, everyone has to come together to agree on a common goal and reach that goal together. And that's why we have this show here today. It's dedicated to you, our listeners, and to help you build pipeline. To talk about pipeline today, I am joined by Corrina Owens, fractional ABM leader, who also serves as a go-to-market advisor for companies like Novatic, UserGems, and Postal.io. Corrina, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. Give us a 60-second introduction to your role and how you help contribute to building pipeline.
Sure. I am fortunate enough to have had the experience of over a decade of working in B2B SaaS, predominantly coming in as a first-time marketing hire, building demand generation and account-based marketing teams from the ground up. I'm now taking that experience to serve fractionally for some companies, particularly early-stage startups, to help them scale. Typically, an engagement works really well if you're looking to either move up market or if you have a new product line that you're looking to expand into. Account-based marketing is most definitely for you. And I'm happy to serve as an advisor for several go-to-market firms that you mentioned.
Awesome. Definitely going across multiple organizations, even within SaaS, there's always a different level of organization you work with, the maturation, the size, the product. So I'm sure you have a lot of experience to share with us. And this is actually where it's going to be very exciting because many of the people that we have on the show, many of our pioneers, are coming through the lens of one organization, but you have experience in working with many. So from your perspective, Corrina, what was the biggest challenge for the organizations that you were assisting that you saw last year?
I think like most organizations, there was so much economic headwinds and turbulence, and the old playbooks that once served us just no longer did. So it was really hard to establish a product market fit. So a lot of work went into really reevaluating those old assumptions about what our buyers need, how many buyers need to be involved in the buying committee, who we need to target and when. So throwing the old playbook out and restarting from scratch and really getting back to like the foundations of what really any marketing or any organization should be implementing with fundamentals of marketing.
Yeah, I heard that a lot as well. A call to go back to basics and to just reassess and essentially back to that drawing board to determine what's actually driving pipeline and what's not.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to 2024, what are some of the experiments or trends that you are seeing this year? How are organizations changing their strategies to win and build more pipeline?
I think the over reliance on like a couple of, snowflakes or unicorn sales reps is kind of going out the window. I think that we're starting to realize that there's so much more power in leveraging advocates. So that could be external influencers or just customers in the sales motion much sooner and more often. Really having those people be more of the face of the brand and the offering. And I think too, we're going to be seeing more and more dependency on a lot of AI solutions that can help us get to things much quicker at scale. And then pair that with actually really relying on humans from the perspective of building relationships that are authentic, that are going to be serving you much, in the long run. And I think too, despite the heavy reliance on AI that I think we will see in the future, I think that we're going to start to really rely on marketers and sellers to really up their game when it comes to writing in particular.
No, and that tracks as well, especially with the creation of generative AI. And that's where there was, I remember, a large panic of AI is going to be taking my job or replacing me. Of like, no, it's raising the bar for all of us. Now that we know where the new baseline is, it's up to those of us in those positions to really up our craft. And this is also where I heard you say that AI was coming into play of essentially AI coming through and helping us be more efficient in our automations and operations than we ever have been before. Can you give me one example of how that might come to be?
Yeah, I'm really reliant on AI to help me do things that used to require multiple resources, multiple tools and technologies, and just a lot of time. purely from like a data analysis perspective. So I'm able to do things at scale from like deduping. So really making sure you have strong integrity with your data and your CRM. And then also effective like account planning and mapping and forecasting. So I think that you no longer need data scientists, you no longer need like Excel gurus. You do have that at your fingertips with some of these solutions, but you do need that strategic thought leader to kind of drive those prompts and make sure that you are putting in the correct inputs and being mindful of things like data privacy, et cetera, and then analyzing the output to ensure that it's accurate and is going to work for your business needs.
Absolutely, making sure those prompts going in are correct. It's gonna make it
Yes. It
gonna
still needs quite a bit of tweaking, but nowhere near, in my experience, the amount of tweaking that creative writing needs with these tools.
them. All right. Well, then let's transition into everyone's favorite part of the show, the 100 pennies game. Karina, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Right. All right, Karina. So we have for you 100 pennies. You can spend them in 10-cent increments to all across these different parts of your go-to-market motion, really to help us understand where you are investing your time and resources to build your pipeline. So, Karina, I have to ask you, where are you spending your pennies?
I'm first off going to ask for 100 more pennies, as any good marketer would do, knowing that that budget is going to get slashed in half. But to play the game as fairly and accurately as I can, I'm going to go ahead and lead with just getting marketing and sales led growth motions out of the picture. I think that you can put marketing and brand and customer, same with sales, same with partnerships. So I'm just eliminating those two right off the bat just to play it a little bit more evenly. And then I'm going to put the bulk of it in three categories. So 20 in brand, 20 in customer, and 20 in community. Like I said earlier, I do think that people are starting to realize that brand is essential. There was a report recently put out by Go to Market Partners that shows that companies that slashed this budget last year are actually suffering and their pipeline goals are getting missed. And they can actually attribute that directly back to the different brand functions and channels that they were supporting that no longer had that budget. So I'm a firm believer in marketing, the experience, the customer experience, that all goes back to your brand and how you're visually representing yourself in the market. So that's going to be one of the big places I place is brand, customer, and community. Those will all get 20 pennies. And again, I think customers are just, they've been shown to be the fastest driver for accelerating pipeline. And I think that embedding them in your community with future customers is just going to continue to accelerate and create a much more authentic buying experience. I'm a big fan of leading with channels and tactics and programs that allow these two to more easily sync up and get together. We all know that they do that outside anyway. So just providing this avenue for them to have authentic closed door conversations is fantastic. The remainder actually are going to get 10 across the board. I would put more if I had more pennies and could get more budget into partnership, purely because I think that those also prove to be in B2B SaaS enterprise organizations to be a strong channel to open new doors and accelerate pipeline. That does ultimately go back to brand because you're hopefully doing a really great job of leveraging, but that would be another area where I would say really focus on, especially if you have a good network of tech firmographic partners as well to leverage on their brand too. And then I love events. I think that those are going to continue to, be really great programs for community, for customers to interact and engage with. So I would probably be a little bit strategic as a marketer to make sure that they were still getting more budget than what you see with this graphic by leveraging them in customer and community programs, but we're playing the game. And then founder is still really important. I think that there was a study by Edelman, I think it was about 2 years ago, that showed that consumers are much more likely, I think it was like over 80% more likely to trust a company that has a social presence from the founder. So there's definitely importance, and I definitely would encourage you to start to build that case and get your executive team really comfortable with what is their point of view, where are they interacting, where are the digital watering holes where customers and future customers are, and how can you embed them in there fairly, really authentically and organically. So there is power in founder-led growth still, and I think that that's super important, but I also think that it's important to enable other parts of the business to sustain without them as well. So I was a little bit probably not quite on the money here for how to play the game, but hopefully that works well.
No, this makes sense because it's an exercise to understand where are the priorities for you and where you're building, and then also why. Because it's not to say that you're going to completely shut off all faucet, all money, all budget to sales and marketing. Those are still functions that need to continue to happen. It's just, where are you placing an emphasis? Where are you putting your experimentation, and how does that come through? So love what you have here, Corrina. Now let's see how your bets place against the industry. So on the blue, you are going to see the industry benchmark here. We sent out a survey, and this is essentially where everyone kind of fell across the board as an aggregate. Now let's place your bets up against the community, Corrina. So you should now see yourself in orange here. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you see this data side by side?
Okay, let me think about my filtered response here. I'm not surprised. I think that this is the model that most of us have been subscribed to, is to be really heavy sales led. I think it's not really indicative of where the market is going. I think we're finding that the older we all get, the more, Gen Zers and millennials, they don't really have an interest in speaking, with sales reps. If ever, right? They want a lot of content and information at their fingertips for them to decipher on their own. So it's a little bit dated, in my opinion. I think it's also not really considering what marketing led might be. To me, marketing led could just kind of be removed from this altogether, because marketing is embedded in all of these different channels, et cetera. I'm really happy, though, to see that product is high. So not quite to where I put it, but it is high. I think we always have to be mindful of that, because at the end of the day, if you can't deliver on what you promised, then you're going to be dealing with, some potential issues of churn down the line. So that's really great. But I'm not surprised also to see the brand led being as far behind as it is. I think that the industry took a really big hit over the last couple of years as far as where people placing their time, money, efforts, and resources. But I do hope that there will be some realization about just how important leading the brand can be.
I'm going to say that again for the people in the back of the room. Leading with brand is important, brand marketer. I completely agree. And you're also spot on. The data that you're seeing here was pulled at like last year. So we're seeing that huge shift when talking with pioneers like yourself, where the biggest channels that people are leaning into are community, partnership, and brand. So how much of a shift that is what I'm excited, because we're going to have a lot more to do when we're able to share all this information together. But I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise and where you're placing your bets this year. I'm excited to see where they pan out for you, Corrina.
Me too. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
So